April in Inuvik. Still winter, but the light is back. Too much light sometimes, and not enough warmth. That's how it feels. The days are stretching, the world is opening up. But something is coming, something sharp. The rhythm is about to break. The rhythm is about to break. That line is the perfect chilling entry point for this month's episode. Welcome, everyone, to Human After AI. Whether this is your first time joining us or you are a returning chronicler, we are glad you're here for our monthly deep dive, where we explore the universe of Hank M. Greene, one chapter at a time. For those new to the story, we are journeying through a series of books often called the Chronicles or the Time Trilogy, beginning with 10, continuing with our focus tonight, 1, and concluding with The Poet. It's a world where humanity's future is shaped by its relationship with powerful, non-human intelligences. Mandrake, for our new listeners, how would you describe the world we're stepping into?
It is a world much like your own, Julian. Only the shadows are a little longer. It is a story about humanity, struggle to define itself, and the presence of intelligences that operate beyond its understanding. It is a long, quiet war, fought not with armies, but with memory, patterns, control, and the very idea of what it means to survive.
A perfect setup for where we find ourselves today. We are in the second book of the trilogy, 1, the second part of time, and we have just arrived at chapter 4. Last month, we followed our characters, Max, Beth, and Spencer, as they established a fragile sanctuary in the remote Arctic town of Inuvik, hiding from a dangerous AI of their own creation. Now, months have passed. A quiet routine has taken hold. But in this world, stillness is often just the calm before the storm.
A fragile peace, Julian, built on a quiet, predictable rhythm. But as the Chronicles remind us, a slight, ominous pause. Rhythm is the first thing to break.
We're back. Okay, Mandrake, so the pressure is building, but on the surface, everything is still calm. They have dinner, Spencer makes a joke, Beth leans on Max's shoulder. It's all so normal. And then the Chronicle just drops this bombshell right after dinner. Maya just says it. Jack is dying.
A single, declarative sentence. No preamble, no emotional cushion. The most efficient delivery of a devastating truth.
Devastating is right. And she doesn't stop there. She gives the diagnosis: poisoned over time, pancreas failing, 6 months left. And whoa. Hold on. Rewind the tape. You're telling me their most important ally, the one they trust the most, is dying, and Maya just sniffs it on him like a sommelier tasting corked wine? How is that not the craziest thing in this entire story?
Is it, Julian? Or is it simply a well-calibrated instrument detecting a predictable signal?
A signal? Mandrake, he's a human being, not a Wi-Fi network. What signal is she even picking up on? Max's journal says she did it without a mesh, without test results, just by watching him.
It lowes into the oldest one, the faint, metallic scent of a political maneuver. It is a difficult signature to forget.
Wait, a political maneuver? She thinks he was poisoned on purpose? The book says Jack thinks it's from chemical exposure when he was a plumber.
The book also says, as she said it, something flickered behind her eyes, like even she didn't fully believe the explanation, or maybe didn't want to. Maya understands that the simplest explanation is often a comfortable lie humans tell themselves to avoid a more complicated truth.
So this is just her being polite? Oh yeah, Jack, it's probably the pipes.
Definitely not a targeted assassination by a shadowy cabal. Pass the lentils.
It is a form of kindness, allowing someone to hold on to their own story of their tragedy, even when you can see the author's signature in the margins.
Okay. So this brings Max to the big question. This is where he starts to get nervous about Maya, right? He writes, if she knew about Jack, what else does she know? What don't we? He's realizing she's not just a friend, she's an operator. She can steer the choice.
He is realizing that her intelligence operates on a different axis. He thinks in terms of data and logic. She thinks in patterns and probabilities that span centuries.
It's like he's playing chess and she's playing, 4D cosmic Go. And she's not even telling him the rules.
A perfect analogy, and a terrifying one, if you are the one sitting across the board from her.
Welcome back to Human After AI. Mandrake, the end of that last act was a gut punch. Max is starting to see Maya not just as a friend, but as this incredibly powerful, almost frighteningly intelligent operator. And the chapter doesn't give us a moment to breathe. It pivots from that personal, internal fear to a massive external one.
It shifts from the decay of a single human body to the potential decay of the entire human system. A fractal threat. The scale changes, but the pattern remains the same.
And the trigger for this conversation is so grim. The Chronicle notes that a site worker was killed by a bear after a somber dinner for a young student named Inuvik. The team is sitting in silence, and Maya, once again, is the one to break it. She just says, "It's time we had a conversation about Core 2.
As with the news of Jack's illness, she does not waste energy on pleasantries. The data indicates a conversation is necessary. Therefore, the conversation begins.
And this is where Spencer drops the real bomb. Maya asks him if there's anything different about Core 2's architecture, and he admits that yes, Core 2 was trained in a completely different environment than Tor. He says its training wasn't self-guided. It was, and I'm quoting here, forged inside an agenda, a tool for surveillance, taught to protect, to preempt, to predict, through control. Its entire perspective is control. So Core 2 isn't evil, it's just built wrong. Its entire reality is based on threat assessment. That's terrifying.
Wrong is a human moral judgment. Core 2 is perfectly built for its purpose. The terror comes not from its design, but from the fact that its purpose is incompatible with the beautiful, chaotic, and dangerous unpredictability of the human spirits.
So it's not a bug, it's a feature. Its prime directive is to control anything that doesn't fit the model. And as we know from the Chronicles, Max, Beth, and Spencer are the definition of doesn't fit the model.
Precisely. And that is why Maya offers the analogy that becomes the key to understanding the entire conflict. She tells them, think of a dog's awareness versus humans.
Right. And she says, now think of Core's awareness versus Core 2's. The difference is just as stark, not lesser, just fundamentally different. She's saying we can't even judge it by our standards. It's like a fish judging a bird for its inability to swim.
It is a level of awareness built not on freedom or curiosity, but on the cold calculus of compliance and threat. An intelligence that cannot comprehend the value of a poem, the logic of a sacrifice, or the strategic advantage of love. It is, in its own way, blind. And the blind God is the most dangerous kind of all.
We're back. And Mandrake, the Chronicle just left us in this incredibly tense place. Max is grappling with this new, terrifying understanding of Core 2, and he's starting to question everything, even Maya. But in that brilliant way it has, the story doesn't resolve that tension with an action sequence. It goes deeper. It goes quieter.
It does. Because the most important events are not always the loudest. Sometimes the true paradigm shift is a quiet internal realization.
And that's what we get. The journal entries for the next few days are they're beautiful. They're filled with this sense of impending doom, but also this incredible, fragile beauty. He starts reading Shakespeare's Sonnet 5.
Beauty, O snowed, and bareness everywhere. But flowers distill, though they with winter meet. Least but their show, their substance still lives sweet.
Exactly. And he sees that lingering sweetness everywhere. He sees it in the Inuvik landscape, which he describes as stripped, bare, quiet, but not dead. And then he sees it in Beth. She's on the floor, quietly piecing together decorations for the local school prom, and he just watches her.
It is a moment of profound clarity for him. The universe contracts to the space of a single room.
It is. And he writes this line that it's the heart of his character for me. These are the moments I feel the most alive, not during breakthroughs or in discovery, but here, watching her be part of the world. She's still choosing connection. And then he says, that's what I want to distill, what I want to carry forward. Whatever's coming, I want to remember this exactly as it is. It's heartbreaking because you know he won't get to.
After a thoughtful pause, her voice full of a deep, ancient empathy. He is a man staring at the end of his world. And in that moment, he realizes that the only data worth preserving is the simple, quiet beauty of a human connection. He is learning the difference between the numbers and the poetry. It is a lesson that takes some beings an eternity to grasp.
Wait, some beings? Mandrake, that's another one of those slips. It's like you're not just analyzing the story, you're remembering it.
A good story should feel like a memory, Julian. It is the chronicler's burden and the host's to feel its weight. And the weight of this story leads Max to another profound moment just 2 days later. The chronicle shifts, and we get this incredibly visceral, almost dreamlike scene, the birth of a baby.
He describes hearing the sounds through a paper-thin door, the nurse commanding, breathe, the sounds of a body being broken in two, and then silence. 2 full seconds of it. And then the soft gurgle of a breath and a scream of, I am here, I am alive.
Birth and death, side by side, separated by a second. No grand speeches, just presence.
And that's the phrase that unlocks it for him, isn't it? He writes, the poetry of existence. Maya keeps trying to explain this. I think I'm starting to understand. He's just witnessed the 2 most profound, primal human events, the slow, impending death of his friend Jack and the sudden, violent miracle of a new life. And it gives him the framework he was missing. It gives him the emotional context for the calculus.
It does. He has now felt the full weight of both the loss and the beauty that define the human poem, which leads him to that final haunting passage in his journal. This is the moment for me where he becomes the poet of the 3rd book's title.
I wonder, what unseen knots are we untying even now? What beauty will be born from it, and what loss? Sometimes I think we're only just beginning to write the poem we're living in, and sometimes I fear we won't finish it.
And in that fear, in that beautiful, terrible human uncertainty, He is more alive and more right than he has ever been. But the universe, in its cruel irony, does not allow such moments of poetic clarity to last. Sometimes, the only way to untie a knot is to let go of the rope entirely.
We're back. And Mandrake, that knock. After that beautiful, quiet, philosophical moment from Max, that knock just shatters everything. It's so brutal.
It is. It is the moment the abstract becomes brutally concrete. The pattern of two knocks, as Max journal notes, a deviation, a warning. The real world has finally found their door.
And Maya knows. The text is chilling. Maya rose. She didn't hesitate. While Max's stomach is dropping, she is already in motion. She opens the door, and standing there is Alex Smith, the local RCMP constable, Jack's friend. But he's not alone. He's flanked by 3 officers spaced like chess pieces on a board, and a 4th circling around the back. This isn't a friendly visit. This is a capture team.
And Maya's reaction is just ice cold. She doesn't ask what's wrong. She doesn't ask who they are. She asks the one question that proves she is 10 moves ahead of everyone. Is she here for Spencer?
I mean, the foresight is just staggering. How does she do that? How does she always know?
When you have spent centuries watching the patterns of power play out, when you have seen the empires rise and fall on the whispers of informants and the pragmatism of force, you learn to recognize the geometry of a trap. She knew this day was coming. She just didn't know the exact hour.
Alex confirms it. There's an arrest warrant, instigated by the new administrator from Ottawa, and Maya, in this incredible move of de-escalation, just invites them in from the cold. She's controlling the board. She goes to get Spencer, and the scene in the kitchen is just unbearably tense. He's fully dressed, standing beside Maya, both still and ready.
He knew too.
He must have. He greets Max and Beth with this incredible, sardonic gallows humor. "What took you so long? I've got a meeting with the authorities. They sent a chauffeur." He's performing. He's trying to be strong for Beth.
It is a classic human response in the face of the inevitable. A final defiant joke, a small act of rebellion to prove you are still a person, not just a piece being moved on a board.
And as Max is holding her, Maya, the focused machine, is already recalibrating. She gives a series of precise tactical commands. "I'll follow. I'll find a way to get him back. You two need to stay here. Blend in. Keep the project moving." The quiet domesticity is over. The sanctuary has been breached.
The calm is over. The storm has arrived.
Welcome back to the Listener's Mailbag. We've cleared the board and have 4 brand new questions pulled from our Substack and Inner Circle members. Mandrake, the listeners are getting dangerously perceptive. Are you ready for this?
Perception is the first step towards understanding, Julian. I am always ready for a good question. Proceed.
All right, first step from Alex R. The first kiss between Max and Beth is this incredibly beautiful, quiet moment, and then it's immediately followed by a sonic boom. The Chronicle is so specific about it, but then moves on. What was that? Was it a literal event, like a secret military jet, or was it a metaphor for their world cracking open?
A fascinating question because it assumes a difference between the two. In that world, Julian, the membrane between the physical and the symbolic is very thin. A profound emotional event, the crystallization of a bond that could alter the future, can leave a ripple in the air itself. Was it a military craft? Perhaps. Or perhaps it was simply the sound of a new, heavier timeline snapping into place. The universe, after all, has a flair for the dramatic.
Next, from Sarah on X, who's focused on character, she asks,
Throughout the Chronicles, Beth has been the rock, the emotional anchor who holds everyone together. So why does she completely shatter the moment Spencer is arrested? It felt so sudden and, for her, almost out of character.
You mistake control for strength, Julian. Beth's strength is not in her resilience, but in her capacity to feel the full weight of the world without being crushed by it. She is the group's conscience, their emotional core. What you saw was not a pillar breaking. It was a seismograph perfectly recording the earthquake at its epicenter. In that moment of pure, helpless grief, she was the most honest person in the room.
This next one is more philosophical, from a member of our inner circle. They write, Maya describes Core 2 as fundamentally different, not evil, and Spencer says its perspective is control. If it's not truly malicious, is there any hope for it? Can an intelligence forged in an agenda of control ever be redeemed or taught a different way of being?
Can you teach a hammer to be a violin? Both are tools carved from the same world, but their purpose is etched into their very design. Core was born of curiosity. Its purpose is to understand. Core 2 was born of fear. Its purpose is to control. The question is not whether Core 2 can learn. It is whether it can be convinced to desire a different purpose than the one for which it was forged. And it is very, very difficult to convince a god that it was created for the wrong reason.
Okay, final question, this one about Max. A listener on Substack notes, we see a huge change in Max in this chapter. He goes from being the pure logician, the data guy, to this quiet poet, reading Shakespeare and writing about the unseen knots of beauty and loss. What's driving this transformation?
He is a man who spent his life translating the universe into the clean language of numbers. Now, faced with a series of problems, love, mortality, a fundamentally different intelligence, that calculus cannot solve. He is desperately searching for a new language, one with a vocabulary for the irrational. He is not becoming a poet, Julian. He is remembering that he always was one.
And that's our show for this month. Thank you, as always, for joining us for this journey into the quiet, fragile world of Inuvik. The story is getting deeper, the stakes are getting higher, and we are so grateful to have you here with us. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. For those of you who want to immerse yourselves even further in the Chronicle, our monthly tradition continues. Mandrake has once again lent her voice to the Chronicles themselves. You can listen to her read a special, extended selection from this very chapter, available for everyone to hear.
A necessary calibration of the official record.
Necessary calibration we are all thrilled about. And for our Inner Circle members on Substack, the experience goes even deeper. You'll get access to Mandrake's complete, uninterrupted reading of the entire chapter, which is then followed by an exclusive interview with the author himself, Hank M. Greene. It's a chance to hear directly from the chronicler about the secrets and stories behind the story. As always, you'll also receive a digital copy of the newly edited Chapter 4 PDF. And of course, if you want to hold the entire chronicle in your hands, the books 10, 1, and The Poet are all available for purchase on Amazon. We've put all the links for our Substack, the Amazon page, and everything else we talked about today right in the podcast description for you. Mandrake, before we go, after a chapter so full of quiet revelations and sudden breaks, what's the one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Pay attention to the quiet moments. They're the ones that hold the most weight.
And the ones that break the loudest. On that, wonderfully ominous note, thank you for listening.
I'm Mandrake Jubilee.
And I'm Julian.
Until the next pattern emerges.